What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to be going over the albums that I listened to from December 9th to the 16th. So let's get right into it. Alright, so first I started off with the Eminem Show by Eminem. I gave this an 8 out of 10. And my favorite tracks were Cleaning Out My Closet, Without Me, Superman, and Until I Collapse. The rating criteria will be over here. And basically, Eminem is always consistent. It's one thing I've always noticed. Apple Music apparently doesn't have lyrics like any of Eminem's discography, especially his early stuff. And it's really stupid, but it's whatever. So, I mean, when I was listening to the lyrics, he has some really good flow, but I really wasn't able to get a full lapse on what he was talking about. But it sounded good. I also can't go without mentioning the production. Dr. Dre was mainly known for helping Eminem's career in his earlier stuff. And, all the beats on this were also iconic. The features were also pretty good too, can't lie. But overall, this is an amazing album. I'll definitely take a listen to this again because Eminem is honestly, white rappers. But, yeah, he's honestly, as somebody who is from the Metro Detroit area, Eminem is just kind of huge in our area, per se. A lot of people know his songs. So, honestly, I really enjoyed listening to Eminem because of just how good he is and how good his flow is. I really love it. All right, so my next album I listened to on the 10th is The Life of Pablo by Kanye West. This is his 2016 release, delayed by over a year. Rating criteria will be over here as I gave it a 7 in this genre hip hop. My favorite tracks are Ultralight Beam, Real Friends, and No More Parties in LA. This album was interesting, to say the least. The highlights definitely had the best lyricism, but if I'm being honest, not a lot of it was very appealing to me, except on my favorite tracks. The production was also good, but it was really experimental. It's something that I really wouldn't like, per se, because I like Kanye's older stuff, and it felt more complete. No More Parties in LA is it's the most perfect track ever. Kanye and Kendrick on the same song, are you kidding me? Kanye goes bar for bar for almost 3 minutes straight. And the production and the sampling is absolutely amazing. It's hence it was in my playlist. It's one of the best tracks I've ever heard. And Ultralight Beam was also an amazing track with, Chance the Rapper being featured. I haven't listened to his stuff, but I know that Chance the Rapper is pretty good, except on The Big Day. I heard that album was trash. But, his verses were written really well, and I really liked the intro to the album and how it just kind of went off. And I'll definitely take a second listen to this, as the first time wasn't the best listen. It was late at night. And I know Kanye projects are peak, except his most recent 2 albums. But overall, the first listen was interesting, to say the least. The next album I listened to is Diamond Life by Sade. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10 rating criteria over here. And my favorite tracks were Smooth Operator, Your Love is King, and I Will Be Your Friend. And the genre is smooth soul. This is Sade's 1984 debut album. And it was very soothing. I love Sade. I love listening to her music. And, this album has put me in a similar mood when I listened to Love Deluxe. Not as good, because Love Deluxe is a 10. But the songwriting was just really good on here. The saxophone solos, the one on Smooth Operator, and Your Love is King is really, really good. Smooth Operator is just iconic. It's one of her most famous songs for a reason. It's why it's got popular on social media. It's just that good. And the saxophone intro, as I said earlier, on Your Love is King was amazing as well. I'll Be Your Friend had some lyricism that kind of stood out to me. And I can relate to it in some ways, and I love when I can relate to something in the music that I'm listening to, because it just makes you feel more connected in a way, because music is a form of expression, and the way that you are basically, using that to express your feelings and how other people relate to that is it's kind of your intention, in a sense, for a lot of artists. And overall, this is a very calming listen, and I enjoyed it overall. Sade is honestly, I think extremely underrated in terms of, good artist conversations, because just the way that she masters her songwriting. As I said, Love Deluxe is a 10 out of 10. That album is perfect. It sets the vibe. Even the cover the cover's amazing. So, yeah, Sade is honestly one of the amazing artists. And Diamond Life was honestly a really good debut album for her. My next album is In Through the Outdoor by Led Zeppelin. I give this an 8.5, and the previous album was an 8.5, so I don't need to show the rating criteria again. And the genre is hard rock. My favorite tracks are Fool in the Rain, Hot Dog, and All My Love. This is an interesting album, to say the least. When I was focusing on lyricism, the only song that stood out was All My Love, and apparently it's a song about Robert Plant's son who passed away, and it was a really good one. It was a song I've heard also before listening to the album, on the radio. And the guitar work on the 10-minute track, Carus Lambra, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right, is really good. That song is actually really good considering its length. And Hot Dog was one of my favorites. Apparently it's like a cover of like old Elvis or something like that. And it was a really fun song and I enjoyed it. It's like really upbeat and it's something you can kind of like boogie to. The guitar work and the keyboard work are just exceptional in this album. I mean, Bonham, I love his drum work. I love his percussive work. It's absolutely amazing. John Bonham's honestly considered one of the best drummers of all time. But he really didn't have much drum parts that really caught my ears too much. But he carries. Him and John Paul Jones carry because, bass and drums are like the foundation. Overall, this is a solid listen, and honestly, I have not found a bad album in Led Zeppelin's discography yet. I've yet to listen to Physical Graffiti, and I think a few more, but still, their first 4 albums are amazing. I have all 4 of them on vinyl. They're so good. Like, Led Zeppelin is honestly just one of those bands where I don't think there's a bad thing in their discography. On December 13th, I listened to Nothing Was the Same by Drake, the deluxe edition. And I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 rating criteria. I'll be right here. And it's hip-hop. My favorite tracks were Two Skin Leather, From Time, Hold On, We're Going Home, and Pound Cake. This album was solid. It wasn't the best thing I've ever heard, but I really didn't have any expectations, so it's pretty good. There were some really, really good tracks that were added to my playlist, and then some really bad and repetitive tracks, and then you want to actually skip them, but for the sake of listening to the album, I didn't. And songs like Started From the Bottom and 305 to My City were perfect examples of these songs I felt like skipping. The repetitive was not good in this context. For sometimes having something repetitive on a song could be good, but in the context of those tracks, it was not. From Time was the only track that I really solely knew before listening to this album as my friend introduced me to it, and it just hits deep. The way that Drake talks about the different things in the lyricism about the relationship that he has, it just really just hits, and I can relate to some of it. Jhené Aiko also has a feature on there. It's just great. I need to get into her stuff. But the piano part as well, this makes the song hit so different. Also, Hold On, We're Going Home hit, like, when I first played that track, I was like, Drake made this? Because I've heard clips of it on social media. But it, like, hit me with waves of nostalgia. And yes, I have heard it before, as I said, but not the whole song due to social media and clips and everything and edits. But overall, this album was a really good listening experience. I gotta say, for Hold On, We're Going Home, I probably, at the time of recording this is Sunday. I listened to it on Wednesday. This is like, I probably played that song like probably over 50 times within that span because it's like the one song I'm bumping this week. But it was a really good listening experience. I'll definitely have to focus more on lyrics because I've heard that Nothing Was the Same is one of Drake's more personal albums. And what I've heard, it's actually like his own personal favorite. But yeah. It's still, I liked it a lot. It was my first Drake album I listened to. So I look forward to listening to more of Drake's discography. The next album I listened to was The Divine Feminine by Mac Miller. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10 rating criteria. I'll be right here. And this is alternative hip hop. My favorite tracks are Congratulations, Dang, and Soulmate. This is a really well structured album. One thing I have to say about the whole thing is that the instrumentals were so well, the instrumentation was amazing. It was so well composed to the vibe that Miller presents in this project. As a lot of the lyricism seem to be focused on personal issues such as love life or other topics, because, I think Mac Miller killed himself at some point. I don't know. But all I know is that his music kind of touched on a lot of his personal issues. And it's the different types of instrumentals they use in this album, so really what makes it really good and just puts you in that vibe. On Soulmate, it has like a really trippy like intro, and it kind of reminded me of Friend Zone by Thundercat. And speaking of him, Thundercat actually helps out a lot in this record with background vocals, bass, and there's a lot of production credits. Thundercat's honestly one of the best session musicians of our time. He's worked with Kendrick, Mac Miller, and many other musicians. And, everyone has heard Congratulations before. Come on, it goes like, love, 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 love. But still, the piano just puts you in a place to be reflective and, reflect on my own thoughts. And because of that, it's one of the best intros to an album that I've ever heard. And it's honestly one of the best songs of the album. I never thought that I really liked Mac Miller, but I was proved wrong. And I'll definitely listen to this album again because it's honestly like, I really enjoyed it. It was a good album to listen to. And I hope to listen to more of his discography. I've heard it gets better. Next album I listened to was Moanin' by Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. I gave this an 8 out of 10. Rating criteria will be right here. And its genre's hard bop. My favorite tracks are Moanin' and Are You Real? This is a 6-track album. So this is interesting and innovative. Art Blakey is considered to be one of the greatest jazz drummers of all time. And his grooves on this record definitely gave him that title. I mean, he just sustains it throughout the entire album. That's what makes it so enjoyable. I mean, if you're gonna take Art Blakey and like consider him one of the best jazz drummers of all time, like he wrote A Night in Tusnia. Like that track alone is amazing. But it's not on this album, but so I have to go and mention that. And it's just a swing in the feel that he establishes. I did have this on in the background, so I didn't get to focus in a lot. That's what I like about jazz albums. That's what I like about instrumentals. I don't have to go super deep into lyricism or anything. I could just put it on and just have a vibe. That's what I mean, honestly, sometimes sitting down and listening to an instrumental or jazz album is a peak human experience. Like, it's amazing. It takes you to a new place. And this record was definitely influential to other jazz drummers and musicians. And I'll definitely listen to this again. For I've definitely heard better. I mean, Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. Best jazz album I've ever heard. Amazing. But, yeah, you know, a bunch of this stuff from the jazz era, the bop era, you know, everything. It's really good. And I just love listening to jazz. For I have huge appreciation for it as a musician. So yeah, this album's good. I'm going to listen to it again at one point. The final album I listened to for this video is Talking Book by Stevie Wonder. I gave this a 9 out of 10. Rating criteria, I'll be right here. And the genre is progressive soul. So my favorite tracks are You Are the Sunshine of My Life, You and I, Superstition, and Blame It on the Sun. This was a very good album instrumentally and vocal-wise too. I mean, Stevie covers so many different topics in his lyricism, such as politics, love, and much more. I mean, throughout his 5-album span from 1972 to 1976, honestly, one of the greatest 5-album runs in history, if not the greatest 5-album run in history. He covers so many different topics and in his music, and it just goes by people's heads. But the thing is, he's so innovative as a musician. Stevie Wonder's honestly one of the greatest artists of all time. One of the greatest to even ever do music. I mean, on You Are the Sunshine of My Life and You and I, he speaks about love, and he makes those songs into calm ballads with Rhodes pianos or like simple acoustic pianos. I mean, he absolutely sings his heart out on You and I, and it made me question who hurt him. But yeah, also on tracks like Superstition and Big Brother, they're, you know, funky. They're very funky tracks with the usage of the clavinet to address political leadership. And I mean, I also found out that Jeff Beck actually helped Stevie write the song Superstition. And apparently, when I was listening to it, he's like, he was talking about like he was giving like a call like Jeff in the song or something. So I had to check the song credits, and apparently he does the guitars on Looking for Another Pure Love. Stevie Wonder also does a lot of instrumentation on this album. And on the last track, I believe he does every single instrument except the programming of the synths that he used. And this to show how good of a musician he actually is. I mean, it just shows that because for example, not on this album, but Living for the City is another great one. Does every single instrument except for the synth programming. So it's amazing. One of the best of all time to ever do it. Overall, this is a really good album. It was a soothing listening experience. I'll definitely be listening to this again. Because that 5-album run from 1972 to 1976, one of the greatest of all time. So yeah, that was the album ratings for the 9th to the 16th of December of 2024. So I hope you all enjoy this. And as I've said before, if you have any suggestions for me, you can always leave them in the comment sections below, or feel free to reach out to me if you actually have my contact. And yeah, honestly, you know, this is just a hobby that I do. I just like listening to albums and just kind of exploring and, you know, expanding on my music taste. So I know that a lot of people like to see me do this stuff. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy this, and hope you have a great rest of your day. And God bless.